Hello my doves. So this video is going to be a little bit rough to film and then probably also to watch. I'm going to tell you guys the details of what actually happened. I know I've kind of like touched on them, but I've never actually told you guys about it or talked about what actually happened. So here we go, I guess. So the first time I was ever abused, of course, was whenever we moved here. My stepfather asked me to go get his wallet or like find his wallet. I guess he was missing it. And I looked everywhere and I wasn't able to find it. And he got mad and told me to go look again, and I found it the second time. And the second time, when I brought it to him, he beat the living daylights out of me. I honestly don't know. I don't know what was wrong with him, but he did, and it was stupid. And then he would beat me off and on after that, and like, you know, emotional abuse and mental abuse, and basically made me feel like I was worthless, and that, you know, just basically that. And I can't tell you what all it was for. I mean, it was all, you know, stupid stuff. And I felt really unloved, and I felt hated by him, and which, you know, at the time I was really upset about, because I had always wanted to be a daddy's girl, and I thought having a stepfather was like my second chance at that. And so for him to treat me that way, it was just, you know, it broke me as a person. And keep in mind, he married my mom when I was 7. So I was super young when all this started, and, you know, it went from there. And so one day I had come home from school, and he called me into the office, which it was just like a den that we used as a computer room. It had all the computers and stuff in it. He told me to sit on his lap, which I thought was weird because, you know, obviously he didn't act like he loved me or cared about me at all. So it was like really weird that he wanted me to do that, but I did it anyway. And he told me he wanted to teach me a lesson about internet safety, about how I had to be careful about what I was searching on the internet. He pulled up a website, and I won't tell you the name, but it meant something else. And so he pulled it up, and he, you know, how it's either .com, .net, or .org. We used the other one that it wasn't that. And so he pulled it up, and it ended up being a porn site. And so he had me sit on his lap while he watched porn and touched himself, and I was really confused and disgusted by it and scared. And after he finished, he told me that I couldn't tell anybody, that this had to be our secret, and that this was like how fathers teach daughters or some bullshit like that. And I had to have been like 12 at the time, because he didn't actually start like well, I mean, that is sexual abuse, but like he didn't actually start like raping me until I was 13. But I mean, that had to, thinking back on it and thinking about the time frame, like I had to have been like 12 at the time. And so he did like similar things like that from then on to me, like, you know, like I get molesting me and stuff, and then, I mean, off and on, and I couldn't pinpoint a certain time. I just know that that was the first time that it came about, and I was still getting beat, right, like for the stupidest things, so I don't even know. And I honestly, I couldn't tell you more stories like that, because that's the only one that stands out to me, but I know that it happened fairly often. But the next time that I do remember was, it was around the time that my uncle was getting married. And so my grandmother, my stepfather's mom, took us shopping for dresses for the wedding. And whenever I got home, I was super excited about my dress because it made me feel like a princess. And it was exactly what I wanted. And so my stepfather was like, well, go put it on. You're gonna let me see what it looks like on you. And I put it on, and he talked about how pretty I was and this, that, and the other thing, which of course at the time felt really good, because he had been treating me like shit since he got married to my mom. And so while I was showing it to him, I don't want to say forced, because it wasn't, I feel like it wasn't that aggressive, but like he coerced me into giving him oral. and I hated every second of it, and it was nasty. And I mean, again, I was probably like 12. I don't even think I was 13 at this point. And I hated it, and pretty much, you know, he just had my head there and it in my mouth, and he did all the work, because fucking 12, I don't know what the shit I'm doing, you know, obviously. I knew then that it was wrong, but I mean, I was scared. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who to tell. I was frightened, and after that, he told me that that's what fathers and daughters do when they love each other. That's how they show each other love. And obviously I knew he was lying, because I had a dad, and I knew that that wasn't what happens, and I knew that it was wrong. I knew that was something that only grown-ups or people who are married should do. But I was still scared. I mean, I was young, and he was so much older and stronger and bigger than me, and I was scared to say anything, because anytime that I messed up or made even the slightest mistake, I was still getting beaten. So it was like, what if I did say something and, he didn't like it? And then, sorry guys. So I was 13 when he actually raped me. I was a virgin, and I had every intent on waiting until I was married to have sex. So I wanted to be a virgin when I got married. He laid me down on his bed, and he told me to close my eyes and to keep them closed. And, I'm glad that I did that, because I feel like things would be so much worse if I didn't. But even so, obviously, it still sucks. So, and then I laid on the bed, and I had my eyes closed, and he forced himself upon me and in me, obviously. And I mean, it wasn't brutal, it wasn't traumatic, it wasn't violent. It was just, he thought he was having sex, he treated it as if he was having normal sex. So it wasn't like violent or anything, and I didn't know what to do. Obviously it hurt, but what do you do? I didn't want it. I didn't like it. I kept my eyes closed and just waited for it to be over. And then even whenever it was over, I laid there with my eyes closed while he wiped me off with a towel. And then he told me to go bathe and to wash up. And he also told me to make sure that I washed myself out, which I'm not going to go into details because it's fucking weird. But he said that to do that so that way I wouldn't get pregnant. And I sat there in the bath, and I cried. I cried so hard, and I prayed, because back then I did believe in God, and this isn't the reason why I don't, but it is what it is. And so I cried, and I prayed, and I prayed to either die or for somebody to save me. And well, it didn't happen, so, which is good. I'm glad I didn't die, but it still sucks. So I was forced into having sex with him almost every day after, well, not almost, but every day after that, sometimes multiple times a day. I hated him, and I hated everything about him. I hated the way he looked, the way he smelled, the way he felt. I hated everything about him, and I honestly wanted him to die. I just wanted him to, go away, and I wouldn't have to deal with it anymore, and everything would be okay. And so here's where things get even more fucked up, as if they weren't already. So he would call me his partner and, tell me that, we were equals, and, essentially, that we were like husband and wife, essentially. And I say essentially because, well, we weren't, obviously, and I would never even consider him that way. And he, you know, told me that I was his equal, and he called me his partner because essentially what we were doing and the way that he was acting towards me was that way. But then, like, even though he called me his equal and his partner, like, I still got beat all the time. Like, I don't know, like, over the stupidest things. Like, it was fucking ridiculous, you know? And so, I had to, you know, cook and clean, which is where I learned how to cook, obviously, but, you know, would have liked to have learned another way. I had to pay bills, I had to work. I've started working at 13, you know. All while he called me his partner and acted like, you know, what we were doing was normal. And he just expected me to act like his wife, and his wife in private. But when we were in front of people, you know, I had to be the child because they wouldn't understand, is what he said. No, they would understand, just what the fuck you're doing is wrong, and you're a fucking asshole, so go fuck yourself. And there were times, like, there were times where he would, like, try to teach me self-defense. Sorry, there was a weird noise. He tried to teach me, like, self-defense, like, that fucking helped, or, you know, like, that's absurd, considering, like, okay, thanks for teaching me how to fend off somebody, so now whenever I try to fend you off, I'm just gonna get beaten. And which is exactly what happened. Like, I did try to fight him off one time, and I just got my fucking ass beat it felt like within an inch of my life, and then he had sex with me anyway, so did me no fucking good. So thanks for teaching me that, I guess. I don't fucking know. I don't know. Like, I just don't understand it. So it was stupid. And, you know, anytime that I would fight back, I ended up getting beaten, and he got what he wanted anyway, so there was no point in it. And I gave up on myself. Like, I really did. And that feeling to feel so alone. And then the feeling of giving up on yourself is just, you thought you felt alone, and then when you give up on yourself, you're like, oh, this is what feeling alone actually feels like. It's just, so I gave up on myself, and I gave up on having a future and seeing a future, to be honest. And the future that I could envision was not one that I wanted, and it wasn't one that I wanted to be in. And he would tell me that he loved me, like, all the time, like, every day. I feel like he told me he loved me, which doesn't make it better. And honestly, it actually makes it worse. Like, I would have much rather him hated me and do this to me than to sit there and say that he loved me and to do this to me. Because I don't know. It creates so many problems when you're sitting there being told that, you know, this person loves you, but they're hurting you in the most barbaric way possible. And it's just insane. He was just insane and psychotic. Anyway, so he would tell me that he loved me and that this is how he was supposed to show his love, and whatever else delusionally he had to tell himself to help him live, I guess. And there would be times, like I said, when I tried to fight back, and those really never ended well. And I never told my mother out of fear. Like, he would tell us about the beatings, you know, or he would tell me about what was going on. Like, if I ever told anybody, nobody would believe me because it would be my word over his. And he was the adult, you know, and he, and here where we live, beating children was okay. Which I think it probably might be. I mean, I've seen some shit, but at the same time, it's not. It's never okay to rape somebody either, so I don't fucking know where he was getting his information. But he told me that, you know, nobody would believe me. And he was super charismatic. Like, I've mentioned that before in my videos, but y'all don't understand. Like, this guy was, like, super fucking charismatic when it came to other people and being outside in the outside world. Like, nobody would have suspected. Well, okay, I lied. There's one person that suspected, and he just, whatever. So I believed that nobody would believe me. And then he would also tell us that, you know, if he got taken away, they would look at the fact that my mother was there and didn't do anything, and then CPS would be involved. And CPS is a wonderful organization, and I know that now, but back then I was so terrified of them because they would come in and they would take us away and they would split us up and send us off to different homes, and while we were in those homes we would just get molested and raped anyway, so whatever. And this is all what I was being told. And what do I know? I'm 13. What do I know that's different? And so I was afraid. I was afraid if I told my mother, either she would believe me and turn him in and all that stuff would happen, or she wouldn't believe me. And, you know, we would just be where we were. But thank God that whenever I actually told my mom, she did believe me. So that was good. Sorry. And so because I didn't want to lose my mother or my siblings, I kept quiet. Because again, I was afraid that what he was saying was true. And I didn't want any of that to happen. And he would tell me that whenever I turned 18, he would take me and my youngest brother, which was his son, he would take me and my youngest brother and run away, and he and I would live as husband and wife, and my youngest brother would be like my son. I hated getting older, and I hated my birthdays, and I hated everything. And, you know, from 13 to 18 was just the worst years of my life, and I hated everything about it. And so I dreaded my birthdays, and I didn't want to get any older. And I actually tried to kill myself shortly after my 17th birthday because I didn't want to be 18. Because I couldn't do it. I didn't see any other way out other than that. And I thought maybe if I did do that, that maybe, you know, the authorities would look into why I did it, and they would see that it was because of him, and he would go to jail, and everybody would be safe, and oh God. And it didn't work, obviously, because here I am today, but which I'm grateful for, don't get me wrong. But being in that moment, being in that situation when you don't feel like there's a way out is super scary. It's like being backed into a corner, and I made the wrong, I made the wrong choice. Going back, I definitely would have done a lot of things different, but that would be one of the things that I did differently. And so I just knew that this was not how I wanted my life to go, and I hated it. I hated my life. Another thing that I forgot to write down, but another thing that he liked to say was that, oh, there was nothing wrong with it because it wasn't incest, because he wasn't my actual father. But it was still wrong. Like, it doesn't matter whether he's my blood or not, which was his biggest saying, well, you're not my blood, so it's still fucking wrong, dude. Like, you know, I know, we all know that this was wrong, and you did it anyway because you didn't care. Sorry guys. I knew I was gonna cry. I really did not expect to cry this much, so I apologize. I know my voice is kind of weird and nasally right now, but it's whatever. I just, as much as I can, you know, smile and kind of joke about things, this is still really hard, and I don't think it's ever going to get easy. To be honest, I really don't. I don't think that it's ever going to be an easy subject to talk about. I don't think that I'll ever be able to say my story and not cry, and to be honest, if I'm thinking about it, I don't think I've told anybody this much before, so congratulations. Obviously there are some things that I have shared and there are some things that I've kept private, and the stories that I told you were honestly stories that I could remember. I couldn't remember specific ones. I know that it happened every day, and I know that I hated it. It like, so maybe TMI, but I hate, well, I hate it, I guess I should say, showering with anybody else. And this may be TMI for some people out there, and I apologize to any family that's watching, but I hate shower sex. I to this day can't do it. I hate it. It's infuriating. It's, I just can't. I just can't. So, you know, going back to the story, there would be times when I would be in the shower and none of our doors in our house locked. None of them, not even the bathroom doors. I think at some point all the doors were like, the doorknobs were actually replaced with non-locking doorknobs. I don't fucking know, but no doors in the house locked. And so there would be times whenever I was taking a shower and he would just fucking slip in there and proceed to rape me in the shower. And I hate it. I can't. I just, and I hate that he took so much from me, and that even though he's nowhere around now and I've defeated him, that he's still taking from me. And I hate that. I hate that so much. So I don't have a problem crying in front of you guys, but I don't know if you've noticed, but I apparently can't talk and cry at the same time. It just doesn't come out right. It doesn't sound right. It doesn't come out right. You probably can't understand what I'm saying. So I apologize, but I can't make this video without crying. I just can't. It's not possible. So that's that. That's how that happened. So I do want to apologize if this story made anybody feel overly uncomfortable. Obviously it's going to make you a little uncomfortable, and I know that it was probably hard to watch, but if you've made it this far, I do thank you. And if you've had something similar happen to you, I hope you don't feel so alone now. But I am truly incredibly sorry that you had to go through anything remotely like this. Because I know how difficult it is, and I know how horrible it is while it's happening, and then of course the aftermath as well. Keeping it real, guys. Keeping it real. So with that, I wish you nothing but love and happiness and a healthy life. And I really do hope that you know that you're not alone and that it doesn't have to be that way. Oh, God. I think I'm gonna have to stop here, guys. I don't think I can keep going. So, it was pretty much the end anyway. It was just, you know, the closing notes. So, again, I wish you nothing but love and happiness and a very healthy life. And I am truly, truly sorry if you have ever been through anything even remotely like this, whether it was physical or mental or emotional or sexual abuse or all of the above. I am truly sorry, and I wish none of this would ever happen to anybody, obviously, and I wish it wasn't a topic at all. I wish we didn't even have a word for it. So until next time, goodbye, my doves.